I understand that D&D gets a bad rap. People think it's only played by nerdy virgin losers with fat juicy hogs, individuals like myself. But in reality, nerdy virgin losers with small tiny hogs could play too, so you guys are always welcome to join my party. Now that I convinced you, D&D is a game built on imagination, and the only real limits is your creativity. If you want to play as a mime who can only communicate through sign language, you can do that. If you want to play as a blind dwarf who works at a gay strip club owned by the mafia, you can be that. If you want to fulfill your long life dream of actually pleasing women, resulting in a female orgasm, which is a total myth by the way, and finally hear your parents say that they're proud of you, you can achieve that too. Literally the only thing standing in your way is your pesky DM saying no because it doesn't fit their story. If that ever happens, pack up your dice and find yourself another DM who will support your dreams. Enough joking around. D&D is a tabletop role-playing game where you create a character and go on adventures with your friends. The easiest way to get started is to see if any of your friends already play and ask to join their campaign. If none of your friends play, check your local game store, library, or school clubs. There's always a good chance you'll find a group there. If all of these fail, you could always find games online. Just be smart about it, don't give out your personal information, and be cautious with any downloads or attachments. For me, it all started about 3 years ago. I was in town, I was hanging out with some buddies of mine. I was getting absolutely destroyed in Super Smash Bros. But before I left, they asked me if I wanted to stick around and play D&D with them. At first, I was going to say no, but the only reason why I decided to stay was because a few more of my buddies were coming over because they were all in the same campaign together. And let me tell you, I didn't know anything about D&D besides role-playing. And because I was joining in the middle of their campaign, I found a pre-made character online to play as. He was a 6'3", Emerald, Gem Dragonborn, Shadow Sorcerer. I know, it was a mouthful, but I ended up naming him Monger. But after rolling my stats and picking my spells, we jumped right into their campaign. At first, I mostly sat back and observed everyone. I wanted to see what everyone else was doing and test the limits of what the game would let me get away with. But what fascinated me the most was that everyone was just improvising. The players were just asking ridiculous questions, and the DM somehow had to make up an answer on the spot. But later on, when the combat started, that's when I got hooked on D&D. Our party consisted of a half-giant barbarian, a necromancy wizard, a bald human cleric, an elf rogue, a human sun paladin, a human fighter, and myself. This ragtag team had been hired by the town elder to rescue some children that had been kidnapped by some kobolds and the big bad boss. Eventually, we tracked them all down, and we came up with a plan to ambush them. Everyone rolled for initiative, and I ended up going second. When it was my turn, some of the kobolds were grouped together, so I decided to cast the spell Sleep at a higher level. Quick pause. Combat in D&D is pretty simple. You roll a dice to see if your attack hits. If your roll beats your opponent's armor class, your attack lands. If it hits, you roll more dice to determine how much damage you deal. So basically, it's gambling with extra steps. If you roll a natural 20, not only do you get a rush of dopamine, that means it's the best possible outcome and will be essentially guaranteed to be successful for whatever you roll for. Unless your DM wants to play a little trick or something. And if you roll a natural 1, congratulations! Something has gone horribly wrong. But anyways, getting back to it. There's 3 kobolds were staying close enough to be inside the spell's area of effect. The first sleep spell knocked out 2 of the kobolds. The next time my turn came around, I cast sleep again, and I knocked out the 3rd kobold as well. And just like that, 3 out of the 7 enemies were unconscious. I felt like an absolute genius. Having those 3 asleep allowed us to focus on the big bad boss and the remaining kobolds. But long story short, we defeated the remaining enemies, we rescued the kids, and we tied up the sleeping kobolds. But before we dealt with the last 2 prisoners, because we killed one, because one was woken up, we decided to interrogate them. The kobolds refused to speak. So when I was looking at my character sheet, I noticed I had a cantrip called Prestidigitation. Essentially, this allowed me to change the flavor of food and drinks. So I picked up a handful of dirt, I casted the spell to make the dirt taste like absolute shit. And then I force-fed it to the kobolds until they started talking. Was it ethical? Probably not. Was it effective? Abso-fucking-lutely. They started talking. I walked away from the session feeling incredibly satisfied. And that's how my first session concluded. If you're ever curious about trying it, I seriously recommend you guys giving it a shot. You guys might end up loving it as much as I do. Unfortunately, we stopped playing like a year and a half and I haven't played since, but it was fun while it lasted. But that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.